Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash, this is AshQuest, and today we are finally unboxing the first of a series of Dungeons & Dragons board games that are all fully cross-compatible, can be played together as a sequence of campaigns. That's right, I'm talking about the D&D Adventure System board games. There are 6 altogether, plus 1 expansion. Lots of people are aware of the first 3. A subset of those people are aware of 1 or 2 of the next 3. But worry not, I'm going to list them all here for you right now. We're going to start this series with The Legend of Drizzt. We'll go on later to Castle Ravenloft and then Wrath of Ashardalon. These make up the first 3 board games that were released by Wizards of the Coast for this game system experience. Each one of these games is standalone, by the way, and if you are planning on playing them as sort of a giant campaign, you can do so in pretty much any order. The next 3 that released were Waterdeep, Dungeon of the Mad Mage, Tomb of Annihilation, and Temple of Elemental Evil. The last release that this board game series saw was Ghosts of Saltmarsh, which is an expansion and not a standalone experience. But it is an expansion that is compatible with any of the 6 game systems, because these are all fully, completely standalone game systems. You don't have to play them with any other board game at all. So what is the Legend of Drizzt board game for 1 to 5 players? Well, this is a modular style dungeon crawler. It comes with its own set of heroes, its own monsters, its own modular tiles, and is set in the Underdark. The board game box text says it better than I ever could. Live the adventures of the greatest heroes in the realms. The Legend of Drizzt Do'Urden leaps from the pages of the New York Times. Best-selling novels of R.A. Salvatore. Okay, hold on. I just said I could say it better. That is like the lamest way to introduce your board game. Yes, you could be a Drizzt Do'Urden fanboy. I mean, who isn't if they have read Salvatore's novels? The game doesn't come with 10,000 orcs. But seriously, the New York Times will really get you pumped to play this board game. Not really the flavor here, guys. Play the legendary Drow Ranger or one of his powerful companions as you battle monsters and explore fantastic locations such as Neverwinter, Mithril Hall, and the mysterious Gauntlgrim. Are you ready for adventure? The Legend of Drizzt features exciting quests designed for a single player or a cooperative group of 2 to 5 players, as well as team adventures and quests that pit players against each other. Each adventure can be played in an hour or less. Alright, so I have flipped the box around. I've messed up the components within. Let's unbox this thing. I am disappointed, sad, and curious. Not really any of those things, but like 10% of each of those things, plus a 4th unnameable emotion that I haven't done this on the channel before. I have all 6 of the game systems and the expansion, but I've never really showed them off. Of the 6 at my semi-regular, not really regular at all, gaming party, my table of regulars, we have played The Legend of Drizzt, Wrath of Ashardalon, and Dungeon of the Mad Mage. We may have actually played Castle Ravenloft too. I want to say that we did, but let's open this thing up and see what's inside. We have the Legend of Drizzt board game, adventure book, and rule book. And yeah, everything here is so totally consistent with everything else. Once you learn the rules for one of these game systems, learning the rules for another one is just a matter of flipping through the book really fast to see what additional mechanics might have been added specifically for that game. That does happen. The adventure book for The Legend of Drizzt comes with 13 adventures, and I gotta say, this is not a complaint, it's just a declaration of my own preferences. I will always prefer a smaller format for your adventure book, something that lines out your stuff, that doesn't take up so much space on the table. There is something that I want to point out here in the how to use the adventure book section under how the adventures work. Actually, no, it's above that. Adventures 7, 8, 10, and 12 follow the standard group adventure rules used by all D&D Adventure System board games. And in this rule set, all the heroes either win together or lose together. That's what makes this a cooperative experience. You don't have a dungeon master per se. You have enemies that have AI. And you have modular building up of the board so that no 2 games are the same. You know the drill. But Adventure 9 is a competitive experience. Adventures 6 and 11 pit teams of heroes against each other, and Adventure 5, Betrayal in the Tunnels, combines features of both team and competitive adventures. Now, I don't know if they still exist as of the time of this video, but we have a blurb here that says, once you have played through the adventures in the book, actually it says one you have played through, check out DungeonsandDragons.com to find bonus adventures for use with this and other D&D Adventure System board games. Would be really cool if those existed out there somewhere on the internet. But Adventures 1 through 4 show the basics of the game, and there are many twists to come. Once you've tried the basic adventures, you're ready for more complex experiences, and to play later adventures, you'll need to use the advanced cards numbered 101 to 200. Something that I wanted to say here is that these adventures, these quests, are numbered sequentially, and yet the competitive and team modes of play are not suitable for single player. So I kind of wish that they had separated those and given you the campaign experience as a block of quests that had their own numbering system, and then the team and competitive quests would have their own numbering systems and be separate in this book. Would have been the smart way to do things, I think, but this is kind of assuming that you've got a bunch of people together, you're all going to play the game, it's not going to be solo, and then in that case, yeah, these are going to play out story-wise in such a way that the team challenges and the competitive play sections make more sense. It's competitive, but it's not like permadeath, it's more like friendly fire. So, getting into the board game components, I had one very kind viewer tell me recently that they would have subscribed if I'd sorted the components in the box first. Well, here's your chance to unsubscribe because I flipped the box upside down to look at the back and some of my stuff went topsy-turvy. Or, you don't have to unsubscribe. You could just also not subscribe at all. I mean, why not? Only about 10%, 20% of my viewers are actually subscribed. I've got bags here. I have extra bags. A lot of the sortation here is my own doing. So I must have had some reason for putting particular tokens together, but the game does come with a lot of tokens. We won't go looking at all of the tokens. These are just tools to use in our tool set. We have tokens such as duel, double strike, power strike, map, and so on. Items, levers, charges, these will help us in our quests. Lay out the visuals for things that are in the game that we don't have necessarily cards or miniatures to represent, like concepts. We will take a good look at all the miniatures here. And I do want to show off the tile art. These two count as tiles. We've got these sort of tiles that are drawn to give you the, come out of there, please, termination of board corners. There we go, they came out. Cavern edge tiles, here we are. So all of the tiles in this particular game, and all of the D&D Adventure System games, by the way, all the tiles follow the same format and they are compatible. They'll all fit together if you so will it. All of the tiles in this game have edges that can be used to terminate this particular tile and actually provide you with a dead end of sorts. Oh yeah, all of these tiles, these are the way that you get through your dungeon. They are tiles, and then you've got spaces on the tile. Some games refer to the individual 1-inch grid or whatever the size standard is, individual squares, as tiles, and then other games refer to the modular pieces of cardboard that these squares are on as tiles. I'm fine with both conventions. You might hear me kind of interchange them carelessly. I am aloof like that. I send all corrections to my P.O. box, where they will be promptly thrown in the trash. We have a lot of different edge cases here. Not really, I guess they're literally edge cases, or tile edge cases. Block and rock falling in your way. Let's flip these upside down. Just straight up dead ends. We have fissures, which are pretty dangerous. These can be things that emit gases, flames, or even be a spawning point for enemies, depending on what game you're playing and what quest you're playing. Mostly just dead ends, though. Some of the tiles are mechanical, such that they have limitations or boons or debuffs that they offer to the players, monsters, or both. Heroes and monsters on this tile, for example, in the narrow passage have -4 AC. In the secret cave, heroes on this tile do not draw encounter cards, so it's a safe haven. Then you've got the drow glyph. Then you've got just a regular space, which looks like it's going to lead into a pretty wide open battle as long as you continue to draw tiles in this fashion. Narrow passage here. Then we have a volcanic vent, vulcanite. We have a couple of those. We have 3 of those at least. We have, hey, look at that, 4 or 5 of those. I mean 6. Did I say 6? I meant 7. We have a lot of volcanic vents. Yeah, there's more than that even. And then more of these that might lean out into larger scale battles if you happen to draw multiple tiles that are really wide out like that. Underground river, then dwarven statue. These have names, even though they don't have any sort of like mechanics or rules listed on the tile, because you may be instructed to draw through the stack of tiles in your specific adventure until you reach a dwarven statue, or until you reach the underground river. And then there are specific things that can happen when you do that. You might just build up to an objective, or it might be the end of the objective, and then a specific enemy or NPC or item will spawn on that tile. So these are all of the cavern tiles representing the Underdark faithfully. And we also have double-sized starting tiles, such as this one here, And then this one here, the Rocky Lair. This one's not necessarily a starting tile. This might actually be like a boss fight tile. And then the Ancient Throne and the Surface Hollow with a narrow passage attached. I do want to warn you of potential spoilers in this book. There are 13 quests, but I want to show you like the first 2. So I imagine that that's not going to be a big deal. Adventure 1 is called Exile, and you will place the start tile. Place your hero on any square of the start tile. I like this here. If this is your first time playing, choose Drizzt. Like you weren't going to already do that. Like you weren't already going to play as Drizzt Do'Urden. And when you reveal the Underground River tile, your hero has found the way out of the Underdark. Place the Surface Hollow tile next to the closest unexplored edge of the Underground River tile, then draw 2 monster cards and place the corresponding monster figures on the Surface Hollow tile, 1 on each mushroom patch. I can't overstate this enough, I really like how, even though there are elements baked into the tiles, they are pretty natural elements. They are pretty location neutral because of the theme of the tile style to begin with and the setting. So like you could put little bits of rock anywhere on the tile that you wanted, it would be fine. You could put mushrooms anywhere you wanted, it would be fine. These details are baked in, but I really like how there are no mechanical symbols. There's no symbology, there's no icons flooding the tile. I can't stand that stuff. It's just a personal preference of mine. Instead, the book says to place things specifically on mushroom patches. I mean, that's beautiful. In a lot of cases, these mushroom patches aren't going to mean anything, and so there would be no need for the iconography. There would be no need for symbols that could confuse your players. So this is just a great way of doing things, and I wish that more dungeon crawler makers would do that. Victory: you win the adventure when your hero escapes the surface. Defeat: you lose the adventure if your hero has 0 hit points at the start of your turn and there are no healing surge tokens remaining. So then adventure 2, we start with starting awards, 2 healing surges, and each hero draws 1 random item card from the treasure deck, and then the start tiles on the table, and it's just showing you the Ancient Throne. A hero on any of the blue squares can pick up the crown token at the end of his or her hero phase. See, the crown is a token in this game. It's not part of the baked-on artwork. Love that. Now, Adventure 11 is one of the few adventures in this book that actually shows a series of tiles being placed together, so you'd have to do a little bit of tile searching to get all of those. But all in all, we are good. Let's go on to just a few more of these cavern tiles left to go through. Narrow passages, broken doors. We won't worry about those. We have more tiles that indicate wounds. 1 HP, treasure chest, draw a treasure card. The treasure chests are tiles, and you flip them over, and that gives you the instructions on what to draw next. We have stance tokens, tokens that line out buffs, debuffs, such as -4 AC, monster, -1 HP token. This stuff, very useful if you need it. We have our 20-sided die, more tokens, why? And monster tokens. Come to think of it, we didn't play my copy of Legend of Drizzt, so this might be the first time that I'm unboxing and looking through all of this stuff other than to verify the components are here. We have our Healing Surge and Snort and Hole in Ground, otherwise known as Pit Ash, and then we have our traps, such as the Force Trap. Each hero within 1 tile of this trap's tile takes 1 damage and moves 1 tile in the direction of that hero's tile arrow. That's an encounter tile. We have adventure tiles as well, and as an example, we have the Gauntlgrim Door. We have the Crystal Prison with an AC of 11 and HP of 3. I'm not sure if I prefer tiles or cards in terms of like encounters. We have several decks. We do have encounter cards, which these are drawn pretty much as soon as you finish your turn. We have the Curse, the Mark of Lolth. The Spider Queen desires nothing but your death. Your hero is cursed. Place this card on your hero card as a reminder. Each hero with at least 1 curse, including yours, takes 1 damage when this card is played. At the end of your hero phase, your hero can take 1 damage to discard this card. The deck has quite a few of those Mark of Lolths in it. Becomes a real pain in the neck. From the Shadows. Choose the hero with the fewest hit points remaining. Place a new monster on that hero's tile. Lost. Without looking at it, take the bottom tile from the dungeon tile stack and place it on top. And Event Overrun. Each hero takes damage equal to the number of monsters he or she controls. And yes, the heroes control the monsters. Because as a hero, when you draw a monster from an encounter, you will control the movements and actions of that monster. You won't necessarily really have to make decisions. All of the available actions of that monster will be on that monster's card. We'll see an example of that here soon. Each of these D&D system games comes with a number of heroes. This one comes with about 8. We've got my favorite of the bunch, Catti-brie, the human archer, the adopted daughter of Bruenor. We have her 1st level stats, and we have her 2nd level stats. We've got Drizzt Do'Urden, Jarlaxle, Artemis, Bruenor, Arthrogate, Wolfgar, otherwise known as Fabio. Look at this brilliant man. And Regis, the halfling rogue. All of these guys have their own miniatures, obviously, of course. Ivli, and we have colored miniatures for easy identification. We've got another 20-sided die here. Now I know it wasn't me, because I would have packaged the dice together. We've got some pretty fantastic choices in this game for miniatures and heroes to select from. The pool is pretty big with the Legend of Drizzt. Let's go ahead and look and see who all we've got. There is my dear Cadibri. I really liked her abilities, and I like playing rangers in general. Plus, I really like the fact that her bow is a recurve. Usually you just get like a regular bow, long bow, sometimes a great bow. Bruenor Battlehammer, who has the headbutt action. At the end of your hero phase, you can take 1 damage to deal 1 damage to an adjacent monster. Every hero, by the way, has what they call powers. You just use the following power cards, but they don't necessarily mean that you have magical powers or anything. These are just all of the things you can do. The Notched Axe, the Clan Battlehammer Shield, the Power Strike, and select 2 fighter utility powers from his deck. Then when you level up, you can select an additional fighter daily power, and the daily powers are like the 1 use per quest powers. The level 2 comes with an additional ability called Critical Hit. When you attack and roll a nat 20, you deal +1 damage. Kind of seems like a bad deal, like I deserve to deal more damage if I level up and roll a nat 20. But our AC, HP, speed, and surge value are 16, 10, 5, and 5 respectively, and they go up to 17, 12, 5, and 6 respectively when you level up. Next up is Arthrogate, the Dwarf Battle Rager. Stats are 14, 8, 6, and 4, and he has Forceful Striker. Cracker, Whacker, Double Strike, 1 Battle Rager daily power, and 1 Battle Rager utility power. Regis here has Magic Mace, Ruby Pendant, 1 Rogue daily, and 2 Rogue utility powers. By the way, there are multiples of these daily and utility powers to draw from per hero, so there is an element of a bit of customization and a little bit of building the hero out to suit your particular playstyle. So the level ups are going to be the same regardless, but the way that you play your character and the abilities that you select and what you like to use, that will be reflected in your playstyle. And your character might be a little bit different than how other people would build and play that character, which I really appreciate stuff like that. Wolfgar, the human barbarian here from the tribe of the Elk, who channels his rage into prowess on the battlefield. I can't believe it's not butter. See what I did with his accent there? I can't believe it's not battle. I'll see myself out at the end of the video. Of course, the exile from the City of Spiders, born with something quite rare in Drow society, a conscience. Drizzt Do'Urden is the probably coolest looking miniature out of all of these. Drizzt's faithful big cat. I'm wondering why miniature makers always insist on having the miniature. If it's going to be a large cat animal or a wolf animal, always be in this pouncing position. At least it's balanced well. It doesn't want to like fall forward. It looks like it really would, but it doesn't do that at all. I don't know how they pulled that off. Kitty does not have its own card. I've got Jarlaxle Bainra and Artemis Entreri. Here are the stats for the, first level of Jarlaxle. And yes, this hero does come with this game in particular. They are referenced in the rulebook and for Artemis. Those minis are around here somewhere, I'm sure. We have little, what are these goblins? It's been a minute. No matter, we have monster cards for everybody here. Feral Trolls, Drow Duelists, Goblin Cutters. That's what we've got. Goblin Cutters and Goblin Archers and Goblin Berserkers. Oh my. Now, these being kind of the sort of bloodline of WizKids, and not necessarily the WizKids miniatures, but I do wonder if that is the case. They're not my favorite sculpts in the world. You guys know I am picky with goblins, but I mean, they do look suitably weak and puny, and barbarian trample them all in one turn-ish. We've got a number of these hunting drakes as well. I do like this miniature, and this is kind of what I would like for animal companions and monster enemy type animals to have poses. This is kind of the pose for me. The I'm going to get you. I'm just thinking about how to do it. Okay, that's right. These two guys are the hero, assassin, and mercenary / swashbuckler. So these are the other two heroes that we would have access to. Their miniatures are not blue, and the swashbuckler is not wearing his awesome hat, but that's okay, I suppose. So who are we going to check out next? Why, the spider swarm, of course, and I really like this. This is entertaining. Instead of having one giant spider, it's just a tile full of spiders. That's fun. That's fun. I also really appreciate that the name of the enemy is on the bottom. It's not just like the product code, although I can see that being useful as well. And by the way, there are exactly as many enemy cards as there are enemy miniatures, so you can always have the miniatures available. You will never draw a card for which there is not a miniature available because of the way this game is designed. Let's go ahead and get you right into the feral trolls. These guys look a lot like the Parker miniatures from way back, or at least they have like the same aesthetic, which just goes to show that Wizards of the Coast didn't think that the trolls should change a whole lot in the last forever, although these are considerably larger miniatures than what come with the Parker games. In terms of design, style, aesthetic of the miniatures, I definitely prefer the 2008 Parker sculpts to these, but these guys, and I mean in general, all of the miniatures combined with together versus all of the other combined miniatures of the Adventure System games, I just like the style a lot more. It harkens a little bit more back to like 90s board games and that heroic 28mm scale era. But these guys are cool. I do think that these guys look really, really great. Feral trolls, there we go. Next up, we've got some water elementals. Whoa, there's actually a face in there. You can barely see it. And really, I only know to look for it because of the corresponding card art. It's a lot more obvious in the 2D art than it is on the miniature, but the face is there. It's goofy. It's silly. I don't mind it. I don't really like elemental type enemies, but these guys are fun, and they are translucent, which makes them extra cool. We've got Driders in this, so arachnophobia warning. A little bit too late for that, I guess. The Drider sculpt looks really nice. I like that. I don't mind Driders. I think Driders are pretty cool entities in the world of D&D. That's Deneen Doerden, by the way. Next up, we've got Hypnotic Spirits. These guys look really cool. I would use these in my HeroQuest game any day of the week. They have a really nice flair about them. The sculpt is awesome. The translucency adds just a brilliant touch to what these guys represent. And there are 3 of them. And the coloration is cool too. Endless simping over those. We have the Drow Duelists up next. These are silver-haired pretty boys of the Underdark, pathetically aiming their crooked swords at the heroes, challenging them to a duel, not of honor. I don't know what's going through their heads. They actually think that this is threatening in some way. Elves are elves, no matter where they hail from. And we have the Drow Caster, Wizard, Mage. What are you? Wizard. Drow Wizard. It's a pretty cool sculpt. I don't mind him at all. It's cool. Wizards make sense for elves to be. Okay, we've got these 4 monster cards now, and they refer to specific monsters. We've got a Mind Flayer. I'm not going to attempt to say it. Yes, I will. Mephil Ilvidenvelp. Mind Flayer, an aberrant. This is a pretty neat sculpt. There are better Mind Flayer sculpts out there. I was going to say earlier, I actually like these sculpts better than the blister pack available Nulzer minis. Those rank 0 out of 10 every single time, no matter what the miniature is. Yvonne Banre, Matron Mother. These miniatures also serve more than one purpose, by the way. There's more than one card that references this specific sculpt. It's like Yochlol, the Handmaiden of Lolth, Drow form, and then there is a Yochlol, Handmaiden of Lolth, demon. Not a very threatening demon, kind of a silly-looking little guy, a little ooze with an eyeball, but you could definitely paint this to look a lot more threatening than it is, or you could just have fun with it. I would be more tempted to have fun with it. I think Jarlaxle Banre is gray because he probably is introduced as a villain before you're able to play as him. And then the same with Artemis. I kind of figured as soon as I realized that I didn't have the miniatures that they were probably mixed in with another color, so that would be a good reason why they're not blue like the others. Shimmergloom is a shadow dragon and one of the larger miniatures that comes with this game system, although not the most impressive, and while I always appreciate a dragon sculpt in some way, shape, or form, maybe I don't appreciate this one as much as I could. Shadow Dragon, he's got slightly cockatrice features. His legs look a little bit chickeny. His neck is a little bit largely plated in front. I don't know, there's just something about him, but you know, I'm gonna stop complaining and bring out the real VIP of all of this. I'm talking about Heir 2. Baylor, the demon. This guy is enormous. He will fit in quite nicely with just about anything I want to put him in. Dragon Strike? Sure. Hero Quest old? Yep. Hero Quest new? Absolutely. And he's red, which means, you know what that means. This is the Warlock's demon form right here. Gonna go on that board. Just kidding. Just kidding. What an awesome sculpt, though. I really like this guy. He looks amazing. Love the winged demon with whip in one hand and sword in the other. Very, very Khorne bloodthirster evoking right here. I don't really care who came first. I'm saying that this evokes that imagery in my mind. My experience isn't the same for everybody else's. By the way, the sculpts are a little bit bendy, rubbery. They're not going to break on you. You can drop them. They'll be fine. They are made of really good, like, toy plastic, which I really appreciate. All right, just a quick look at all the cards. We've got treasure cards with this, such as Fortune, Camp, Fortune, Lift the Curse, Fortune, Quick Strike, Fortune, Secret Tunnel, and so on. And then you have actual items like the Scrimshaw Charm, which allows you to re-roll dice, the Tunnel Map, the Wand of Lightning Bolts, use instead of attacking, and then flip the card over after you use Mask of Disguise. This one's funny. Your hero does not count as the closest hero to that monster. Use when a monster not on your hero's tile activates. So you just disguise yourself and the monster passes you by and goes to another hero. They're trade-offs. They are trade-offs. The encounter cards, such as the Mark of Lolth, Overrun, Volcanic Spray, Spell Web, and so on. Then adventure cards. And the adventure cards are letting us know kind of how the different heroes will play when you don't control them, it looks like. There's Guinevere. I've never heard this creature's name spoken, so I hesitate to speak it, but I know somebody in the comments will correct me. How do you say this name? I'll just ask you outright. How do you say the beast's name? I just shorthanded to Guinevere because, you know... Oh, Snort? Where's Snort? Snort is a token. Snort is a token. There's no miniature for Snort, unfortunately. And then you have your sequence of play cards, which are always very useful. Every single game should have them, and they usually do. Finally, we have the cards that the heroes will use to play. They don't have the names of the characters on the cards. They just refer to them by their class, which I think is really nice, because if you don't want to name your archer Canterbury, for example, or your fighter Bruenor, then it's fine. You can just use the cards that are associated with them. But I would like to skip and just go right on down to Drizzt because he's the reason that so many of us are here. And I'm going to show you Drizzt's cards. You've got at-will powers, which are the powers that you can use every single turn, basically your actions, of which we have 2. So every single turn, Drizzt can use, as a ranger, Icing Death or Twinkle. The Twinkle is Sword. This elven blade set with a star-cut sapphire magically protects its wielder. Attack one adjacent monster, then place your stance token on this card. You can remove your stance token from this card when an adjacent monster hits your hero. If you do, reduce the damage from that attack by 1. Stances are Chef's Kiss. Beautiful features to add to an RPG, by the way. Attack +6, damage 1. And then Icing Death. Drizzt named this magic scimitar after the white dragon that guarded it. Attack 1 adjacent monster. If you roll 18 or higher, this attack deals +1 damage. So you get those kind of no matter what. Then you have 3 daily powers and 5 utility powers. The 3 daily powers, or the things that you choose from when you are playing for the first time, are Lone Drow, move your hero up to his or her speed, then attack 1 adjacent monster. Twin Strike, attack 1 adjacent monster, then attack 1 adjacent monster. It does 2 damage. If you miss, it still does 1 damage. And then Inspirational Strike, attack 1 adjacent monster. Each other hero within 1 tile of your hero can use an at-will attack power. Finally, we have the utility powers, and these are usually more passive, but Dancing Serpent, use at the start of your hero phase. Place your stance token on this card. While your stance token is on this card, whenever you use an attack power, you can move your hero up to 2 squares before or after the attack. Figurine of Guinevere. This onyx figurine is drink. What a tall glass of water this elf is. Drizzt's link to his faithful ally, a magical black panther. Use this instead of attacking. Place the Guinevere figure adjacent to your hero. Find the Guinevere ally card and place it with the rest of the monster cards you control. Guinevere activates first in step 3 of your villain phase. Last Blood. Use instead of attacking. Place your stance token on this card. You can remove your stance token from this card at the start of any villain phase. If you do, move your hero up to his or her speed, and that hero can use an at-will attack power. Then, Dark Fire, used during your hero phase. Place a -4 AC token next to any monster within one tile of your hero. Discard the token when that monster is defeated. Finally, Cloud of Darkness. Use when a monster within one tile of your hero would activate. That monster does not activate during this villain phase. If more than one monster with the same name is in play, this power affects only the chosen monster. So, beautifully designed combat system with this game. I really appreciate pretty much everything about The Legend of Drizzt. It is a really nice game. Nicely designed game system. I have very few notes, very few complaints as a professional reviewer and expert on these things. Start a lot of the quests with these healing surges, which help you survive. You use a healing surge token to revive a hero that has been reduced to 0 hit points, so that takes all the ambiguity out of when can I use this. But that is The Legend of Drizzt. Please let me know how badly you would like to see the other unboxings of the other games. I'm excited about all of them, perhaps except for Temple of Elemental Evil, and when we get to that one, I'll show you why. It's the one that goes for the highest price on sites like eBay, and it's just the most disappointing out of all of them. But tell me which one you'd like to see next, and I'll look at the comments, and I'll choose the next one based on the number of votes that each one gets. Until then, brave heroes, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next adventure. Bye for now.